Hey, good morning, Pete, North Las Vegas. This is my old 1990, and this is the very first AR I ever purchased. And this is the large pin lower sear block version. And at the time, I didn't really know that much about ARs, so that sear block never bothered me until I found out it was there, and then it bothered me. But anyway, we had this rifle out 2-3 days ago, and I had two issues. The trigger was horrendous. I mean, just really bad. The other issue I had trying to do the standard Army 25-300 meter zero. This rifle shot somewhere between 1.5 to 2 inches low. And we'll get to that part here in just a minute. But we'll talk about what I did to fix the trigger. Okay, so what I did to fix the trigger was I put this Geisley SSA two-stage trigger in. Geisley makes a large pin version with the correct safety bar configuration for lower sear block Colts. And I'll pop this open if you're not familiar with that and show you real quick. I've talked about this rifle quite a bit in different videos, but if you're new to the channel and haven't seen the older ones, I'll show you what the lower sear block looks like. Okay, there's the offending part, lower sear block. Taking the old trigger out, it was, I managed to get it out to where I didn't have to take anything apart as far as the pistol grip or the selector. But man, it took me probably 2 or 3 minutes to crack the code and figure out how to get the old one out without taking the rifle apart. But I finally figured it out, got the angle of the dangle. And the Geisley went in a lot easier than the old one came out. The Geisley almost like just about dropped in. So that was kind of nice on the install. Okay, so anyway, we got the trigger straightened out on this thing. Now we're going to move on to the front sight and some of the checks I did, trying to figure out why this rifle hits low. Okay, so on a standard A2 front sight base, from the barrel, right there, right up against where the front sight base sits, from that point there to the top of the shelf, right here, nominal is 1.940. Now F mark is 40 thousandths taller. So if you're doing an F mark, that's going to be 1.980. But on a standard A2, it's 1.940. So that's the first thing we checked, trying to figure out why this thing hits low. And when I did my measurement, it came in at 1.942, so about 2 thousandths taller than nominal, which isn't going to affect much of anything. So the FSB is in spec. It's where it's supposed to be. Okay, so now that we know the front sight base is in spec, the next thing I checked was the front sight post. Now, depending on who you talk to, the top of the post here down to the, as soon as I get my pointer in here, down to the flush part of the post is either 2.60 or 2.270. And mine measured 0.271. So that's close enough and in spec. And I think that 0.260 is A1 height and 0.270 is A2 post height. And in either case, whatever it's actually supposed to be, mine came in at, right at about 0.270. So now we know it's not the front sight base and it's not the front sight post that was causing this thing to hit. Okay, so let's talk about adjustment travel on a standard A2. Okay, so on a standard A2 front sight post, you can see there's 4 detents. And each one of those clicks is 1/144th of an inch, which equates to 0.00694 thousandths. So if you round that off, that's 7 thousandths per click will be the travel of that post up or down. So 7 thousandths per click. Okay, so right now I have the sight post probably about 4 clicks below flush. And so what I did, just to make sure something like really strange wasn't going on, and just out of my own curiosity, I put that sight post back up to where it was flush with the sight base. And I did some measurements. I went 1 click down, 2 click down, 3 clicks down, and 4 clicks down. Now, for some reason, when I started at flush from the standard sight post height, it ended up at 0.0076 for the first click. Then it got better on the second click. And then after that, I was landing like right on 7 thousandths. So the thread pitch and everything going on with the front sight post is pretty close to what it's supposed to be. Like right on the money once you get just slightly below flush. So I just wanted to verify that out of curiosity. Okay, so I'm going to use my dual flyback binatural Kuznetsov adjustment tool. And I'm going to move this front sight post back up to flush. And then I'm going to go down 12 clicks to show you what I had to do when I was out firing it to get this thing to come up and hit the bullseye at the Standard Army 25 meter zero. So we'll start off at flush, and then I'm going to go 12 clicks down, and I'll show you just how far I had to bury this front sight. And I had to go down far enough to where, you know, I wasn't happy with it. So let's get that done off camera. So that's, like I said, that's about 4 clicks below flush right now. Okay, so that's 12 clicks down from flush, which in my opinion is quite a bit. And that's what I had to do to start getting this thing to hit at towards the bottom of the bullseye, not even center bullseye. So I probably actually needed to go down 14 clicks. But anyway, that's kind of where I left it until I got disgusted and came home. And just to give you guys a visual reference of how much that is, that's 84 thousandths. So 7 thousandths times 12 clicks. And that is quite a bit to be off, in my opinion. And so that's kind of where we're at. Okay, so what I've decided to do is I've ordered 2 extra A2 front sight posts, and I'm going to take about 60 thousandths off, and that should put the front sight post top at about 4 clicks down, and that should get me zeroed at 25 meters. I thought about taking the full 84 thousandths off, but man, that's quite a bit. And so I'm just going to go 60 thousandths, and that'll leave me below flush roughly 4 clicks. So that's how I'm going to fix the zero issue. And then I'll talk about some other things that I considered doing but decided against. Okay, so we talked about how much travel you get on the front sight post per click, which is 7 thousandths. And some of you that maybe aren't familiar with iron sights might wonder, well, how much does that change your impact? Well, at 25 meters, quite a bit. 7 thousandths of an inch at 25 meters will change your point of impact 3/8 of an inch. And so if you're using iron sights, being precise with your sights, it really has a huge impact on accuracy. Okay, so the other thing I considered doing was re-indexing the rear drum, but I kind of decided against that. And right now we're sitting flush. It's down as far as it can go. The housing here is bottomed out on the receiver, and indexing marks line up perfect. I mean, there's no slop. And so I thought, you know, I could re-index this, turn it up a couple of clicks. You know, not all the way to 4, but just go like 2 clicks up and re-index the drum so that the 8.3 lines up with the mark. But then this is going to be sitting off the bottom. So now you can see starting to see a little bit of daylight underneath there. And then, like I said, I could re-index the drum back to 8.3, but I don't know. I'd seen how everything mechanically is lined up with this. I didn't want to mess with that. I'm not trying to do a revised improved zero or anything like that. I want this thing to work how it was originally designed, which is the Army 25 300 meter. So anyway, I decided against doing that. Okay, so while I was thinking about re-indexing the rear drum, I kind of got to thinking, you know, I wonder if Colt did something, employed some trickery on this back elevation drum, because it's a match HBAR. Maybe they changed the thread pitch, or they did something back here. And normally on your 25 300 0, you're using the small aperture. You bottom this thing out, and then you come up one click, and then the rest of your elevation adjustments get made with the front sight post. So, but I was wondering, I wonder if Colt did something weird. So I went and got my old books out, and actually read everything. Zeroing sights on AR-15A2 HBAR Sporter. And it's the standard way of doing it. There's no trickery going on. Set your elevation knob for 300, then raise it one more click. And use the small aperture. So they didn't do anything weird back here just because it was a match. It's just your standard A2 zeroing procedure. So that wasn't it either. Okay, so the other thing I considered was pulling the barrel off. Taking a look at the extension to see if there was any burrs or imperfections. Taking a look at the receiver, maybe lapping the receiver and trying to get it squared up with the center line for the BCG area. And I'm just not that worried about this thing's zero issue to take the whole rifle apart, so I'm not going to do that. So anyway, kind of back to what we were saying earlier in the video, I'm just going to shorten the front sight post. That way I can crank it back up closer to flush, and I'm just not going to worry about it after that. But we will get this thing zeroed in. Okay, well, I think that's it. Pete, North Las Vegas, over and out.